Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video today, I wanted to talk about the difference between a new associate versus experienced associate. I feel like this is not talked about as much, especially for young and new people in the careers like myself. Most people want to talk about the difference between associates versus seniors, but I want to talk about today the difference between associates and experienced associates because I think the difference is important to note and for you to be successful early on in your career. Because at the end of the day, the expectations, the responsibilities, the difficulties you will face, and the things that you'll need to do to stand out are remarkably different compared to your first year in public accounting versus your second year. First, let's discuss expectations. As a first year associate, from my experience, you're expected to know virtually nothing about audit. So if people are expecting you to know nothing coming into the job, what are they expecting you to do? Well, let's say three things. One is that you're excited to work. Two, that you really want to learn and are willing to put in the hours to understand what you're doing. And three is to have a really good attitude and just be eager to take on more work and help your seniors and your managers by taking the load off their list. All in all, we care that you have a good attitude. That's about it at the end of the day. Ask for work, smile, be happy, and act like you want to be there. And people are going to want to hang out with you. It's like having friends, right? You don't want to hang out with someone that doesn't want to be there. Now, let's talk about the expectations of an experienced associate. But first off, when are you considered an experienced associate? Is it after 1 full year of a job? Normally, yeah. But however, not always the case in the Big Four. The moment you're considered an experienced associate, like a second year associate or a third year associate, is right after the main busy season ends. Right after that big January to March to April push, right? By the time May hits of the next year, you're an experienced associate. It doesn't matter if you start in October, the year prior, or in January. Once May hits and everyone's done with their official busy seasons, you're now considered an experienced associate, and your expectations change right then and there. So now that the game has changed and you're being looked on in a new light in a mere matter of seconds or even overnight, what are those new expectations? What are the expectations of an experienced associate? Well, for one, we expect that you'll be able to solve more of your own problems and that less of these trivial, hey, where do you find that? Or what does this mean? Are not coming up as frequently. If you still have questions, still ask them. Don't let anyone make you feel stupid for asking questions. However, we do expect that, you're able to find more answers to your own problems. So sometimes instead of asking like, hey, what does this mean? You can ask, hey, not sure what this means. Is there some way, something I can read, somewhere I could go in the website for me to answer my own questions in the future? Because a good chance is you might have a question here and a question far down the line may show up and you might just be better off answering your own question rather than asking someone else all the time. Second expectations is being able to work through your test works and hop on client calls, face-to-face, one-on-one with these clients to answer your questions to the test works that you're performing and not needing to involve significant senior help. If there's things get too hard or too complex and you need a more experienced senior or associate to hop on the calls with you, fine. But at least try and hop on those one-on-one calls first and answer some of those questions with the client without having to involve your superiors. It makes you look better in the long run, right? Solving your own problems is good. The third expectation is that during a busy season or interim period, you're able to take one business process, like the treasury and debt process, or the HR process, or the AP/expenditure process, right? These normally pretty simple processes you'll work on as a first year, effectively taking the lead on an entire business process, either by yourself or with you leading most of it and going through most of the work and engaging like a first year associate to help you go through one or two test works. But let's say if one process has 7 test works, right, that you are making sure that all 7 processes are prepared and ready for a manager review. For me, a fourth expectation of an experienced associate is that now you're taking more of a coaching and leading role when it comes to interns and new associates. So now those interns, the person that you once were, or the first year associates, the persons you once were, right? They have these basic general questions, right? They will come to you as an experienced associate, someone who's been in their shoes literally just a year prior, and you're able to answer their questions, assuage their fears, coach them, and train them. In this job in public accounting, you're going to be coaching and training a lot. So getting experience and getting good at this sooner rather than later is a big plus for you. Lastly, for me, the final expectation, the fifth expectation I'll have on my experienced associates is that you're able to lead communications with the offshore people. Anytime we need to give our offshore team work, right? You're the person who's giving that work, answering their questions, and submitting those works and reviewing them to the next possible reviewer, whether that's the senior or your managers. So I know we covered a lot there. So just to summarize, for experienced associates, we have 5 expectations. 1, that you're able to solve more of your own problems. You're able to hop on one-on-one calls with the clients. You're able to lead and take on a business process and see it to completion, at least in a preparer sense. You're able to coach and lead your interns. And then the 5th one is that you're able to coordinate and be the lead contact for your offshore team members. Now let's get into responsibilities. Responsibilities versus a first-year associate versus responsibilities of an experienced associate. As a first-year associate, especially if you start out in the October, September, November timeframe, then the first few things you're going to be doing for the first 7 months of your job is doing interim and year-end work, meaning substantive procedures and testing of your clients' accounts. So if your clients are stating on their revenue account that they have $3 million in revenue, well, you're going to be looking at those source documents like the invoices, purchase agreements, other supporting documentations like shipping support and payment support to ensure and guarantee that the revenue that they're saying they have is in fact real, should have been booked there, and is booked correctly and accurately in their financial statements. You might also be assisting your seniors and your other associates on the team with confirmations on their cash accounts or their ARs. So ensuring that if they say they have $1 million in cash, that you're going straight to the, let's say Chase Bank and asking them like, hey, does my client actually have $1 million in your Chase Bank account? And if they confirm saying that yes, as of 12/31 they do, then boom, confirmation's done. That's one thing you'll be doing as well. And you might also be tying out, the balances you're testing back to your lead sheets and tying those lead sheets back to the financial statements. As you go up the food chain, your job becomes much less into the details and more big picture sense. So as an experienced associate, you might be gathering a list of items that are ready or that are prepared and ready to be reviewed by your seniors and or managers, and you're pushing that stuff forward to them so they know like, hey, I have these things that is ready for my review and I should get them done in a certain amount of time, so we are all on time to be done. Also, as an experienced associate, you might be the one leading the calls between yourself or being the representative of your Big Four company with the client to clarify any questions that you or your other teammates below you have, and kind of figuring out ways to get solutions. Once the interim and busy season are done, so that's between like September all the way to May, during the summertime, this is going to be your first foray into understanding a client's processes and attending walkthroughs. Asking the clients like, hey, take one revenue transaction, show us from the start, from the customer ordering that specific product, you guys shipping out and recording revenue, show us the process from beginning to end, and building an understanding of that process into your file. This will also feed into helping your seniors risk assess and decide which accounts do we want to test. Now that we have an understanding from all the walkthroughs we did in the summertime of their revenue process, seeing how cash or how clients or customers ask for products and then they deliver it and they receive cash in their hands. Now that we have an understanding of the process, which specific accounts do we want to test? Do we want to test this wholesale or e-com revenue accounts? Is AR big enough or risky enough that we want to test that? Now you're doing risk assessment with your seniors and you're starting to dip your toes into those kind of fields rather than just doing test work like you did as a first year associate. You're also going to be more responsible in handling the types of tasks that interns and first year associates will be having. You're going to be that first line of defense in terms of questions, right? If interns or first year associate have questions, they're going to go to you first. And if you can't figure it out, then you'll go up the food chain. You will talk to your seniors will talk to managers, so on and so forth. At this point, this is start the place where you're going to start molding that judgment, the professional judgment for yourself as an auditor and as an accountant. Now, we're going to talk about discussion topic number 3, and that is the difficulties that you would face versus a first year versus a experienced associate. Now, the challenges and difficulties that you will be faced with and have to solve are different as a first year compared to a second year, because you learn so much as a first year. So what you find difficult or something you didn't know as a first year, you might feel like a pro by the time you're an experienced associate. So as a first year, I remember things that I struggled with and had to work on is learning how to navigate the files, the audit files, learning how to use my company's website to answer any audit questions or accounting questions that I have, utilizing Google, and so I can answer my own questions or at least present solutions to my seniors and managers before I talk to them about it. Also, getting used to how to get my managers and my seniors' attention, kind of like how we discussed in the first point below, right? Creating a list of questions, providing some solutions like, hey, I think I can do this. The best way to approach a conversation, so they're the most willing to want to help you, but also see that, hey, this person that's asking me this question has actually tried and gives a damn about how to get this done right. So as an experienced associate, I will touch upon a difficulty that I personally face, and that was the transition from an associate 1 to associate 2, and just understanding what my expectations were. For me, the transition was very jarring because people just looked at you right away like, oh, you're a new associate, right? In the Big Four, you're just jumping from team to team to team. So the team that you worked with as a first year associate, it might not be the same team that you work with as a second year associate. That was definitely the case for me. And so there was just a lot of expectations that weren't communicated to me, and that I also frankly didn't ask. So that was a big mistake on my part. So the challenges that I faced, and I think maybe you would face, and hopefully you can learn from me, is just understanding the expectations and the kind of communication and the kind of team member that your team wants to have and wants you to be. So asking simple questions like, hey senior, hey boss, what's the expectations that you have of me during this time that we're working together? Or hey boss and senior, what's the best way you want me to communicate to you? Would you rather me just send a message on Teams or Zoom and we just answer questions when you have time? Or do you want me to book time on your calendar and I have like a list of questions and we go through them at that designated time point, so I'm not disrupting your workflow? Knowing how to ask those questions, knowing that you should be asking those questions, I think is a good step, and it would have saved me a lot of heartache, that's for sure. So now the last part of this video, how can you stand out versus a new associate and experienced associate? Well, if you're a new associate, the first thing you can do to stand out is to take notes, bring a notebook, and just take notes in front of your partners, seniors, managers, whoever, when they're talking to you and doling out tasks. Sure, you can write notes on your computer, but something that I've just noted that when I work, especially with my partners, right, and they're giving out tasks, if I'm typing on my computer, I have one partner be like, you taking notes? They have him stop asking me. I just start writing notes on paper. I think it made him a lot happier. He could also see that, hey, what I'm writing down, if I'm furiously scratching notes, right? He knows like, okay, I'm gonna stop here, wait until he's finished, and then continue once I stop scratching on my notebook. It's just a great, physical and non-verbal communicative way to kind of show that, hey, I'm paying attention and I care. Another way to stand out is just have a good attitude. These people, when they have you on your team, right, is a luck of the draw, but they're looking to find someone who wants to stay with them long term, that they can have as an experienced associate, then as a senior, then maybe hopefully as a manager if you stay at the Big Four for that long. Just be nice, smile, ask good questions when they come to you. Don't be the first person to initiate leaving, just smack your laptop closed and walk out the door. Instead, ask your seniors like, hey, is there anything that I can do at this moment? Is there anything that I can add to my list? Is there anything that I can take off your plate? For experienced associate, it's kind of the same thing. Keep doing what you're doing, but now be the person that actively goes to your seniors like, hey, what can I take off your plate to make your life easier? Be the head, the main person of communication for your offshore team, so your senior doesn't have to deal with that. They can deal with other stuff, partners and managers, and make sure that you're CCing your seniors or your managers on any emails that you send out to the client, so they know that, hey, this person is actually talking to the client. I can see what they're talking about, but they got it right. I'll jump in or involve myself if it seems like the situation calls for it. Well, that being said, that's the end of this video. I really hope it was helpful. I also hope it wasn't too long. I'll find out once I edit it down. But I appreciate you staying until the end, and I'll see you in the next video. So peace out. Boom!